In New York State, on any given day, there are thousands upon thousands of men, women, and children that are held in isolation in city jails and state facilities.
Hey, Mr. Five here, talking about solitary confinement. We'll be going to visit the Campaign for Alternatives Isolated Confinement lead coordinator, Victor Pate, who will basically explain what's the current situation of solitary with the city jails and also the state system now. Right now, most people don't understand that while their family and while their child is locked in isolation, this is something that the state could have solved that would have also solved the city's issue for isolated confinement as well. CAIC stands for the Campaign for Alternatives Isolated Confinement, which is a sort of collective group of leaders and activists and lawyers. But why is the city jail system and the state jail system still locking people in 23 hours a day for years on end? Let's talk to Victor down at the Correctional Association, which hosts the Campaign for Alternatives to Isolated Confinement. And we'll talk about that and the other
pending in the Senate Crime Victims Committee that has to be voted out, and from that particular point, then it can be brought to the floor for a vote. So as you know, we have 79 Assembly sponsors, and we have 34 Senate sponsors, which is more than enough majority of votes in both houses to get the bill passed if the Senate leadership and the Assembly leadership bring the bill to the floor for a vote. Unfortunately, last year, this did not happen due to what you previously mentioned about the governor's proposed administrative reforms to solitary confinement. So the governor is proposing that within 3 years, it would take them to get down to just the 15 days. So we're talking about 90, 60, and then 30. And that's a 3-year period that it would take them to get to the 30 days. The whole bill, which basically is based upon the premise that 15 days be the maximum, and after the 15 days, then transfer to an alternative unit. 15 days is based upon the UN General Assembly rule that states that no one should be held in long-term solitary confinement past 15 days, and if there is considered torture. We have people that's in solitary for decades upon decades upon decades. This does nothing for a person's disciplinary status. It does nothing for the safety and the security. There's mounds of information, medical reports, psychological report that says that there is damage that happens to people being placed in solitary. So why do we have people being placed in solitary confinement? Well, according to corrections, this is disciplinary. I tend to disagree as a solitary confinement survivor myself, because the whole solitary confinement bill is not saying take away the, I guess you could say, accountability. And what we are saying is that take away the way that's implemented. And the way that you do that is through transformation programmatic programs that will help people to deal with whatever those issues are that they got in solitary confinement, as opposed to putting people in the cell for 23 to 24 hours a day. The governor, in his proposal, does not address our cell time, does not specifically address any programmatic or any interactive activities. All the governor's proposals is saying is that it'll take them 3 years just to get to 30. And even within that 30-day period of time, there is no specific I guess you can say, component that says what must happen within those periods of time. Whereas the Halt bill has specific conscriptions as to what must happen during the out of cell time, during the interactive time, and during the programmatic time. So where we really are with the Halt bill is that we're still pushing forward. We'll still continue to go to Albany. We'll still continue to talk to our co-sponsors, the legislators, to try to get them to push even the leadership to bring this bill to the floor. They were ready last year, 2019. Right. Our co-sponsors in the Senate and the Assembly was ready to vote on the bill.
And so we had enough votes to pass it.
More than enough.
More than enough.
So that means where we are right now, if they bring this bill to the floor, first has to be voted out of the Crime Victims and Corrections Committee, and then bring the bill to the floor for the vote tomorrow. They would pass the bill.
Who is the head of that committee?
The person that is chartered is Senator Louis Sepulveda. He's actually our lead sponsor in the Senate.
Right.
And he's also the chairperson of the Crime Victims and Corrections Committee. But I guess you can say the caveat to this that because he's not the leader of the Senate, it's not his call to put what bills that come to before the committee on the agenda. It's up to the leader. And guess who that person is? Andrea Stewart Cousins.
Andrea Stewart Cousins, who is the leader of the
She's
Senate.
the leader of the Senate.
So she has the power to basically change all of this right now.
She has the power. She had the power to bring. She had the power to
Last
actually
semester.
bring the bill to the floor in 2019, where the conference could have voted on the bill. She had that power, and she didn't use it. She misused it.
And so, we get a lot of people who are family members, right? Mothers, fathers, wives, often husbands, who have a family member in solitary, and they don't know who's at the bottom line of that. And so the bottom line, starting from the top down, is the governor.
Right.
He basically can change that state
change
right
it.
now. He basically can end the facilities that his father built decades ago. Right. And then the voting of the people who actually created the legislation, because Halt is made up of all different types of citizens, that actually was stopped last year. So we are spending money on confinement that we don't have to spend if we would have passed it last year.
Of course. And here's the other piece to this. The other piece to this, that one of the missed pieces of information that Governor Cuomo puts out and has put out, that it would cost too much money for them to implement Halt. Well, we have documented information that is contrary to what he says.
Right.
First of all, we already have existing units that can be utilized to repurpose. Of course, anytime you're talking about reforming, there is going to be minimal cost. And in this case, in comparison to what the governor says to implement Halt, in terms of what he says it will cost, is misinformation. And we have documentation in the report that basically shows that there actually will be cost saving, as opposed to them having to construct new units because they have existing units already and just need to be repurposed.
And that was I just wanted to just state on that. So that was an issue from last year because I remember Assemblyman Blake actually going on the floor handing out a breakdown because a lot of area legislators was told that it would take out of their taxes, right? And so we're still battling problems from last year when we had the solution. So what can people do right now as citizens to actually make an effort and make a change?
So basically what you can do to help us, you can call your local legislator, and either in district or either in their Albany district. You can always go online to find out who that particular person is, depending on your geographical location. You can visit your legislators often to tell them, hey, listen, we support the Halt bill. Why don't you do the same? Why don't you talk to the leadership and have the leadership bring the bill to the floor for a vote? Another thing you can do, you can attend one of our meetings. We usually have a meeting once a month. You can go onto our Halt website, which is www.nycaic.org, www.nycaic.org, and it has a listing of when our upcoming meetings are, when we're going back to them, because we'll be going to Albany up and through the legislative session is till the end of June. Hopefully we don't have to make those many trips. Hopefully before that happens, we will get the Halt bill passed. But up until that particular time, we will be making periodic trips back to Albany to show our presence, to show our perseverance, to bring people there with us. On the 21st, we was up there. We had close to 1,000, if not over 1,000 people from different walks of life, diverse communities, organizations. We will continue to put the pressure on until the leadership is precedent to bring the bill to the floor for a vote. So there's various ways people can get involved. Attend meetings, attend rallies, go onto our CAIC website, attend our meeting. You can call me. I'm the lead organizer. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? My number is there. So there's various ways that you can involve. The bottom line is that we understand that everybody doesn't have the capacity to maybe do the advocacy work, to come to the rallies, but there's something for everybody to do. If it's just a small thing of signing a petition,
Or sharing it on social
or
media.
sharing it on social media, calling your local legislator, attending a rally, attending a forum, become educated, take the conversation to the next level, talk to your friends, talk to your family. There's something from everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and we're
You're
going to
welcome.
continue
Thank
the
you.
series. Thank you.